Hello, I'm Jen Gould of Jen-Loc LLC. I'd like to welcome you to this discussion about water filtration. As I've mentioned in my other videos, this is a combination partnership between Jen-Loc LLC and Hopestone Christian Ministries Trust, bringing you in this case, water filtration line that is based on clinoptilolite zeolite from our mine in Mexico, where the purity of our zeolite we always try to give to you is 98.44%. And actually, we've just acquired another mine that the certification came back at 100% purity. That means there's very little we need to do when we're breaking it down to make it available to do the things we're asking for it to help you to live a healthier life, whether it is the soil on your farm, in your gardens, on your lawn, whether it is cleaning up environmental spills, whether it is water filtration, or whether it's a dietary supplement. Please check out our other videos regarding each one of those. What is zeolite and why haven't you heard about that in terms of water filtration? Now, we are very upfront when we tell you that this material is used as a filter media, not a softening media. What it does is it attracts the opposite ionic charge. So in the case of zeolite having a natural -4 dielectric ionic charge, that means that it is going to naturally want to attract other high value positive ionic charges to it. So some of the common ones that we address are arsenic 3 and 5 have +3, +5. They're a great attractor to a -4 zeolite. Now, there are going to be things out there that are contaminants, whether it's forever chemicals, heavy metals, chemicals they're putting into our municipal water systems that we'd like to take out. They might have a positive ionic charge, so we're looking for negative, but some of them may have negative ionic charges and they need positive. So our two offerings are negative charged zeolite and positive charged zeolite. The positive takes on actually a +5 ionic charge. So that's going to do an amazing job with chloride, bromide, sulfide, some of those fluoride that come up in what you're facing in some of your challenges. So this has been fantastic, especially with forever chemicals, but we typically like to recommend that a customer consider at least a duo system of varying sizes that's going to have one positive and one negative ionic charge. This is our small portable unit, which actually my parents actually utilize with their RV when they travel around the country. This would also be appropriate for a mobile home or a tiny house. We have different systems under counter as a polisher, all the way on up to a standalone size unit that can be put in tandem with one another on municipal systems. Right now, we're utilizing some water challenges down in Western North Carolina, where we're able to take one of each of these large units that can handle 5,000 gallons a day versus a 50 to 100 gallon per day size unit that are looking at addressing issues with drinking water or even agricultural water. Depending on where you're at in the United States or anywhere in the world, you're going to face different challenges, and no cookie cutter one size solves all. I will tell you that in the Midwest and the West, a lot of places have a hardness of 14 grain per gallon or higher. Pretty much when we're looking at doing this, while zeolite can attract and filter out some of that, it gets inundated by that. So oftentimes we are recommending that with anything more than 6 grain per gallon hardness, we look at having a water softener being installed before the Jen-Loc unit so that it has the ability to do the best job at what you're asking it to remove. I will point out that unlike a lot of what is out on the market, granular activated carbon is the most common in comparison with what we're doing for filtering out contaminants. Zeolite outperforms GAC, granular activated carbon, by 1,200%. And if that were properly addressed, when it's removed, it's supposed to go back out and be refired, which means that it would be heated up and the exhaust would go up into the atmosphere and come down as a more concentrated form with acid rain and everything else. And one of the things we're really trying to do is get away from that sort of thing. So we see the zeolite as being far superior in terms of what we're asking to remove, reduce. Some things we're not going to be able to take to a zero. We never promise you that. We like to say that we effectively reduce or remove contaminants in the water. It's important to know what your water usage is every day. Some of these have, if you can picture that the filtering capacity of this zeolite, if you were able to take and flatten out a 1 gram size, so the size of a pencil eraser, and you could flatten out all of the different filtering surfaces, you would have an area 30 yards square. So if the zeolite doesn't have anything like a slime-related bacteria coating over it, you're going to have years out of these cartridges that it will filter out these different contaminants. When we get into areas with private water, now we see more of these iron, manganese, or sulfur reducing bacterias, which will not fail a water test. They will not make you sick medically. They are a nuisance bacteria. And typically they get into an aquifer, let's say at a farm. And as it enters, it likes air, water, and any one of those three as a food source. When they find it naturally, they populate and they travel along through an aquifer. You can never completely remove these from an aquifer system that you're tapped into, but not everyone has this. So we try to be selective when we're talking with people about what to do addressing this. If this is the case and you do have one of those, typically you are finding a pink or black stain on a shower curtain bottom. You are smelling a very foul odor, very similar to a sulfur odor, but it's not truly sulfur. And the best way is to lift off the lid of a toilet and feel. That should be gritty on the ceramic inside the tank. And if it's slimy at all, you have iron reducing, manganese reducing, sulfur reducing bacteria. We have a fantastic application that can be done to a private water source where you are utilizing food grade material to address the aquifer. If you're on a municipal system, typically you aren't seeing this sort of thing because the chemicals they have in the water are or should be killing off what's going on. In the case of disaster ravaged areas, we don't know what some of that water source is coming in. So these filters offer the best opportunity. One of the things they do typically replace successfully would be UV. Now, we don't do any sort of radiation like that, but it's called size exclusion. The pack of the zeolite needs to be appropriate so that as the water passes through, the bacteria or other contaminants, but in particular to bacteria, are going to be caught up in the first few inches of the zeolite in the cartridge and separate away from the water. So it physically cannot travel through the cartridge on through to where you're going to use it. So in that regard, we look at how it has the ability to replace something like a UV. In terms of acid neutralization, zeolite naturally loves to buffer pH up to the neutral range of 7. So we can whether it's a positive or negative ionic charge zeolite, it's naturally going to try to correct the pH to the neutral range of 7. So if you have acidic water, now you have an ability to address some hardness, iron, manganese. You have an ability to buffer, raise your pH without having to add an extra unit to be an acid neutralizer. And if there has been any issue of bacteria, you have a much better opportunity at looking at removing that from the water also. Our goal is to have safe drinking water. There are many different aspects that can come into this. You want to size the unit correctly. If you're trying to push too much water through a cartridge for what it's designed for, you could have bleed through. If it gets coated with zeolite, the water is going to go right on past the zeolite. So it's important to educate yourself so that you have the best version of the contaminated water coming into your house source. There are a lot of things that you can learn, but it's very approachable. And we are not a company that tries to tell you that you have to have one of these and keep buying replacement cartridges. Again, these cartridges should be, or whole units, should be giving you tens of thousands of gallons and years of service. But should you decide to replace them, we have them available and they're really quite inexpensive compared with what the options are. If you do need to have a softener, that is going to need to be required to be plumbed prior to a Jen-Loc unit. Most of the units we have on the website are all wall mounted. Again, we have some units that are portable or under counter as polishers. We have one customer who had really bad sulfur. We have a full-size unit in the basement. They did not need a softener, so the old softener came out. We put the unit in, and then that plumbing had been in for 30 years. Um, Once water changes, so if you've never had any sort of treatment and you change the water, now you typically begin to see some of the old contaminants that were built up on the inside of the plumbing begin to release. So in that regard, we put a polisher on the cold water line under the kitchen faucet before it went to the ice maker on the refrigerator, and all the usable cold water at the faucet, and all odors and everything else were now removed as the polisher. We like to encourage you that if you haven't already, get some water quality analysis done on your water. If you are on municipal systems, we should be able to find that information publicly if you haven't been provided with a water report. There are also some watchdog groups out there in the United States, EWG, I believe it is. They are looking at other contaminants that aren't necessarily showing up in your water quality results that would be cancer related. So if you haven't done that, I highly recommend that you get that done. You can contact our offices or anyone who is a distributor of our equipment, and the next steps are going to go through how much water do you use? Do you have pools? Do you have irrigation? Do you have farm animals? This is able to be scaled to size for large scale operations as well as a tiny home or an apartment. So I would encourage you to go to our website, www.jen-loc.com, and look at the systems that we have recommended. We also have the opportunity that you can contact our office and we can answer any question that you have. I truly don't want anyone to have any of our equipment or product line in their home until they've done the research and they feel confident in making that choice. And we're just out here trying to be good Christian-based people who want to help others with a material that is natural and environmentally friendly and affordable and a way for you to heal. And we hope that you'll join us on this journey. So we look forward to hearing from you. Have a fantastic day.